The Saints shake up their training camp routine with an energetic night practice at Tulane. We're live at Yulman Stadium with all the highlights. Plus, our panel discusses which camp battles have been the ones to watch and which players are making huge impressions so far. And LSU and Tulane open fall practice with high expectations, both uptown and in Baton Rouge. The atmosphere was electric tonight at Tulane. A huge crowd, 12,000 fans, the Saints say, came out for what's become a terrific summertime tradition. I'm Doug Mouton. Welcome to 4th Down on 4. The Saints open preseason play Friday night, but right now, that seems a long way off. This is the grind of training camp, and the uptown practice sort of breaks up that grind. Ricardo LeCompte was there at Tulane. He joins us live uptown. Fun night, huh, Ricardo?
It was a fun night as the Black and Gold took the road show to Yulman Stadium. And as you mentioned, 12,000 fans in attendance tonight. And it actually looked like that. Yeah, I know normally those numbers usually get embellished, but it wasn't really the case. As you looked at the press box side, had all the fans pretty much filling those seats. That end zone right behind us was full of patrons watching training camp practice. And then if you went along the home side of Yulman Stadium, that lower bowl was filled. And part of that crowd was about 2,000 kids that Drew Brees actually invited from his Football in America flag football organization. So those numbers padded a little bit because Drew Brees also helped in getting some other kids here to see training camp practice tonight. It was a fun practice and a very spirited, lively practice. The weather was perfect for this. We even had a rainbow kind of show up here at the beginning of training camp practice. We all thought that we're going to see rain here throughout this session here at Yulman Stadium, but that wasn't the case. We had perfect weather. We had a lot of excitement for the fans, and of course, afterwards, all the fans got to get their favorite players' autographs. A fun night and another successful night for this Saints organization of hosting a practice here on Tulane's campus.
You get a sense that the crowd's right on you here, and our training camp's attendance has been great. But I think this every year is a real good change-up. I think it's good for the fans and for us.
Kind of resemble a game out here, just to have the fans and the stands packed, to show everybody, what's coming this upcoming season.
Yeah, Tre'Quan Smith, who you just heard from there, had one of those standout practices last season as a rookie. The rookie star at Yulman this year was actually probably safety Saquon Hampton. The 6th-round draft pick had earned a few first-team snaps and ended up with an interception his second straight day of practices as he picked one off during team drills. The offense actually kind of picked up in the team drills. This was probably the most lively part of the practice. And the biggest kind of connections that we saw was Drew Brees to Michael Thomas. He made a fantastic catch. Drew Brees just throwing a dime. And Alvin Kamara showing that dual threat ability as he was able to beat Alex Anzalone a bunch of one-on-one coverages during that 11-on drill. And Alex Anzalone was also asked afterwards how much he's seen improvement from Alvin Kamara. But first, Sean Payton on Saquon Hampton's improvement.
He had a big play tonight. He's got good hands, and he's one of those players, the ball kind of finds him a little bit. So I've been encouraged.
He's such a big problem for defenses. He's always been good to me. He's always been a tough cover. So, when I'm covering, I'm always got to get locked in.
Now, some of the players that actually did not participate in this practice today were a couple of receivers, and Keith Kirkwood and rookie Emmanuel Butler, who was the star in that first week of training camp. Ted Ginn Jr. also not on the practice field with this wide receivers group, but it appeared he was taking a vet day along with Cam Jordan and Terron Armstead. So a fun night here at Yulman Stadium. We'll send it back to you, Doug. We're live here at Uptown. Ricardo LeCompte, 4th Down on 4.
All right, good stuff, Ricardo. Now, before the Tulane practice, we caught up with our panel of reporters from WWO Radio and the Times-Picayune, the New Orleans Advocate, to get some observations. Question number 1, which position battle do you find yourself watching most closely 8 practices in?
The most interesting battle to me is the one that's probably the most important to this team, and that's at the center position, where Eric McCoy has emerged over the past week. The Saints didn't use the 2nd-round draft pick on this guy to sit the bench. They want him to start, in my opinion. So the fact that he's been running with the ones throughout the last 4 or 5 practices, he's probably the guy to look for.
It's kind of the cliche answer at this point, but center. You know, you've had a guy there for so long, and now it's open, but it's starting to look like Eric McCoy out of Texas A&M is going to be the guy.
The group is defensive backs. There's so many of them that are going to be able to play in the NFL. They're going to cut some guys out of that room, whether it's safety or cornerback, that are going to go play somewhere else and play significant roles, I think, on other teams. That's a loaded group right now.
I think for me, it's the nickelback position, just because you got P.J. Williams, who had a really good season last year. Then you also had Patrick Robinson, who was injured last year, but he's back and he has that experience. So this is like the first time in a while, the Saints have really had some depth there, and I think that's a really good thing for this team and bodes well for them this year.
Yeah, no doubt it does. Now, center is an open competition. The other 4 offensive line spots are rock solid if they can all stay healthy, and that's definitely the case with left tackle Terron Armstead, who's been brilliant in black and gold when he plays. Andrew Doak now joins us live at Yulman Stadium with the creative ways in which Armstead is trying to now stay healthy. Andrew.
Hey, Doug. Yeah, for the Saints' 9th practice of training camp, left tackle Terron Armstead was not present. He was one of several Saints who actually weren't present, but this is what the Saints would consider a vet day. Very common for players like Armstead to miss practice to be able to give them time to rest and recover. But for Armstead, learning ways to manage his body better has been a constant work in progress. There's no secret sauce to avoid injury. Sometimes it's just bad luck, and other times someone can just be injury prone. But Saints left tackle Terron Armstead is trying every type of workout he can to prehab any hiccup that could come, even if they're not of the traditional or macho kind.
We're all trying to find ways to stay on the field, Best ability is availability. So I did some yoga, Pilates as well, but we're all trying to find different ways to stay mobile and keep those soft tissue injuries away.
Armstead is regarded as one of the elite left tackles in all of football, but what's kept him from being recognized as the best is his availability. He's still never been available for all 16 games of an entire regular season, and last year he had to miss 6 games because of a torn pectoral. But in camp he's looked fresh. This play stood out to me, with Trey Hendrickson bull rushing Armstead. Armstead effortlessly tossed a 270-pound Hendrickson to the side like he was a throw pillow. But Armstead's desire to be on the field is matched by his determination to be an even greater leader within the Saints offensive line, especially because of the retirement of former center Max Unger.
I definitely try to be the head of that room. Max was a great leader, great player for a long time, very smart guy that brought a lot to us as an entire team, really, his approach to the game. So we'll definitely miss Max. But myself and we got other guys too, Larry, Ryan Ramczyk, in just his 3rd year, he's stepping up as well.
And if you ask Armstead, the position battle at center is one he considers a close race. The rookie out of Texas A&M, Eric McCoy, has seen the most first-team reps, and currently he's competing with Nick Easton and Cameron Tom for the starting gig. And the first thing that stands out to Armstead about McCoy is his strength.
Eric looks really good, man. He looks a lot more physical with the pads on, as you would assume. Just having that competition is going to make the position even better for us.
And if McCoy's as special as they believe he can be, they'll have another special group protecting Breeze this season, one that can be among the best in the NFL. Live at Yulman Stadium, Andrew Doak, 4th Down on 4.
Coming up, we'll focus on the $100 million man as Mike Thomas signs his extension. ESPN's Mike Triplett weighs in on that, and if the Saints still look like Super Bowl contenders 9 practices in. Plus, our panel discusses which players have made the most of their shot at training camp. And later, LSU and Tulane are back on the field for fall practice. Training camp is back to normal because the Mike Thomas deal is done. That uncertainty hung a cloud over the first weekend of camp. Thomas then went from the 96th highest paid wide receiver in the NFL to number 1, as Ricardo LeCompte reports.
All offseason, Michael Thomas and the Saints worked on a new extension, but couldn't quite settle on a final number. With no new deal in place, the all-pro receiver decided not to report to training camp.
You know that this is part of the business at times, and you hope that it doesn't drag out too long. We want to have all the all the guys here, you know, all the members of the team. We want the whole band, right?
For days, the Black and Gold worked without their best receiver. Meanwhile, Thomas continued training in San Diego.
As it kept going on and prolonging, then it kind of got like, you know, you kind of felt like days turned into weeks. So you just want to be out here, and you know, we have ultimate goal to be playing last team standing and play for a championship. So you can't, I can't help my team at home.
The contract talks continued, and with each passing day, Thomas's price tag could have gone up if another big-name receiver reached a new deal, keeping Thomas from being the highest-paid wide receiver in the NFL.
During the process, we knew someone else is going to. That's how the game goes. Even like watching Drew Brees, he could be the best quarterback right now, standing, and another guy's going to jump him. You know, just how it goes. So having guys like that, vets and people that have been in the game and know the game, just trusting them and listening to them, I had great advice.
Solid advice, because Thomas eventually got what he wanted. A deal reached on the Saints' first day off in training camp, a 5-year extension worth $100 million, making Thomas the richest receiver in league history.
Pay that man, you know, he deserves it. And I love it, you know, just like him getting that, you know, I'm happy. I'm the happiest man on the earth. Just seeing my friends, you know, get paid like that, get them blessings. You know, I love seeing that.
He earned the pay raise. Thomas set franchise records last season with 125 catches and over 1,400 yards receiving. He also set the record for most receptions in a wideout's first 3 seasons with 321. Thomas was on his final year of his rookie deal, slated to make just over $1.1 million. The Saints essentially got a bargain based on the Pro Bowler's production. Thomas secured the bag. Now he's ready to prove he deserves this big payday.
After I signed that deal, I told Mickey I'll be back to do a 3rd deal. So, you know, it's just the process. That was what time it was there, and you know, now it's on to the next goal. You're now the highest paid. Now you got to go earn it. So that's my biggest thing I'm trying to do. I'm trying to earn every penny of it.
Reporting in Metairie, Ricardo Lecomte, 4th Down on 4.
All right, thanks, Ricardo. Now, before tonight's practice at Tulane, we caught up with ESPN's Mike Triplett to talk about a variety of Saints subjects, beginning with Thomas. All right, Mike, look, let's start with Mike Thomas. Right when it got to the point we thought he might wait out and see what Julio Jones and the other guys were going to do, they signed. What does that say about both sides' willingness to get it done?
Well, it really couldn't have worked out any better. Like, I think I wrote, it's about as painless as a contract with a maximum value of $100 million could be, but you know, he could have pushed for more. If Julio had gone first, who knows how big that could have put a real wrench into things. So I'm really glad that he got his moment to be the highest paid receiver in the league for however long that lasts. You know, got his just due and got into camp early, so it's a non-issue because he really had a ton of leverage. They need him so bad. They've never needed any offensive skill position player, I don't think, in the Brees Payton era as much as they need him right now.
Yeah, and I think that's an excellent point. And they got it done with about as little drama as you can get. That is the most surprising thing about the whole thing, right?
Yeah, and look, I think he's slotted in the right place. Like, if you had put me in charge of an arbitrator, I'd say Julio should probably make a little more than Mike, and they probably both deserve to make more than what Odell got last year. So I think this is going to slot in right at the same point, and I'm glad that sort of reason prevailed and the desire to go and try to win a championship, because the Saints can't win without Thomas, but Thomas also wanted to be here this year because they're never going to be in a better position to win one than they are right now, I think.
Yeah, and talk about that position. Have you seen anything yet at training camp that has changed your mind in any way about your expectations for this team?
Not significantly, but there's 2 things that I like even more than I realized I was going to like before, and one is Jared Cook. I'm trying to temper my enthusiasm because on paper he looked like the perfect fit for this team, but on the field he also looks like the perfect fit for this team. Now, he's had a lot of hype his whole career that he hasn't always lived up to, but he did his best work in a very similar offense in Oakland. I like Eli Apple a lot too, not because he's making plays every day, but just because he looks so comfortable out there. He is making a lot of plays. He's not getting beat a lot, and it's just solidified that number 2 corner spot that was so unsolidified even by mid-season last year that they were trading for him mid-season. So those are 2 things. The whole defensive secondary in general has a lot of depth. I'm still worried about the pass rush show. We've seen some nice things from Trey Hendrickson, but I worry about the depth, losing Alex Okafor, having Sheldon Rankin starting out injured, and not really having replaced either one of those guys.
Yeah, no question. That's the biggest question mark right now. This atmosphere, 10 days into camp, to get this kind of atmosphere, this really is kind of a nice jolt at training camp.
It is, but I would say, unscientifically, the crowds have been bigger and louder than I ever remember for the first 10 days. Even on like Tuesday afternoons, they were really coming out there. So this is usually nice, though, a different atmosphere to come out to Tulane. We always like it because of the weather, if nothing else. But it is. This probably feels like a little change of pace at a time when they really need it. It is serious Groundhog Day time right now.
No question. Mike Triplett, thank you.
Thank you.
And it sounds like pandering, but the crowds have been unbelievable through the first 9 practices, 10 days. All right, back to the panel now. Last week, we were only 3 practices in, and undrafted rookie Emmanuel Butler was the early star. Now, he's been hurt since. So we asked the panel for who's emerged since then. We got a variety of answers.
It's rookie safety Saquon Hampton. He's quietly having a good week or so, week and a half, and that's what these coaches want. They want to see you stack plays together. Originally, you think of him as a special teams guy, depth guy, but he's actually showing you he's got versatility and some ball skills in the back end of that defense.
Austin Carr. Yes, he had a punt return, doink off his helmet the other day, but he's trying to make a name for himself.
I think Traquan Smith has really made a jump. You look back at what his rookie year last year, he's struggled, and he's admitted, there were some things that he didn't know what he was doing. He lined up sometimes and was a little confused about what he was supposed to do. And I think this second year, I think he's learned the offense. Sean Payton sort of raved about him a little bit as far as him just picking up on things, and he made some really big catches earlier in the week. I just think he's a guy that's made that stride.
Well, you can go offense or you can go defense. I'm going to go defense, and it's Eli Apple. Eli Apple has consistently been a guy who's getting his hands on the football. He's a guy that you want to perform this year because this is his first offseason with the Saints. Last year, don't forget, he was with the Giants. But he's showing that, hey, I deserve a big contract. And those are kind of the guys I like looking out for.
Still ahead, college football is just around the corner, and the return of Caleb Chasson should help boost an already stacked LSU defense in 2019. And Tulane's quarterback Justin McMillan is expecting to take the green wave even higher after a breakout season last year. LSU is now 3 practices into its fall camp. As camp opened, Ed Ogeron was asked if he thought this year's team was more complete this season. Ogeron said, yeah, 4 times. And last year's team finished 6th in the nation. Let's go. LSU opens the 2019 season with 2 number 18s. That number, of course, given to the player who succeeds on and off the field with a selfless attitude. That's edge rusher Caleb Chasson, who has a chance to be a great player. And center Lloyd Cushenberry has been a leader in the locker room. And that line is definitely Ed Ogeron's first priority.
But the focus on camp is going to be the line of scrimmage. And getting better at the line of scrimmage. Line of scrimmage discipline, eliminate pre-snap penalties, pass protection, run blocking. And we got to develop a great offensive line. I know Coach Craig is ready to do that.
Among the guys to watch in camp, number 72 is sophomore Tyler Shelvin, who's battled weight and grade issues. He has enormous talent, and LSU has significantly better depth up front.
I can remember two camps ago, we didn't have 2 lines, and Coach Grimes did a tremendous job. He said, Coach, I'm going to get them ready. I think we played 3 freshmen. Now we 3 deep. We're developing guys. Guys are competing. We're 3 deep on both the offensive and defensive line, so we have a lot more depth there.
It's very special when you have a lot of guys come back who know the playbook and who know the system and what exactly you're trying to do, and who can coach the young guys up. In the past, we always have a lot of guys leave, so then we starting back over from ground zero. So to have a lot of guys come back and go through their senior year and they vouch to stay for us and help us out, and it's really special.
A more complete team, with the opener now 26 days away. Tulane is 4 practices into its fall camp with an experienced quarterback in Justin McMillan and a new offensive coordinator in Will Hall. McMillan said he barely knew his teammates' names last year after a late transfer from LSU. Now he believes the Green Wave offense is ready to explode.
I just feel like this offense is going to be really explosive. You know, when I think back and just think about how many players that I had last year, and to think at the same time this year how much they've come along and how much talent this group has, and they just made the job easy for me. I just had to give them the ball, and they literally made the plays for me.
Tulane opens with a test at home against Florida International. The Panthers finished last season 9-4. They also won a bowl game. We're back with more 4th Down on 4 in a minute. Great night for the Saints at Tulane. They're back at it tomorrow afternoon in Metairie. That practice is closed to the public. We're out of time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on 4th Down on 4.